Hi everyone, and thanks for tuning in to this introductory video on the sport of cycling. My name is Amanda Leibovitz and I am one of the cycling coaches for Team SOCOM. I hold coaching certifications with USA Cycling, USA Triathlon, and USA Paratriathlon. And over the last 10 years, I've had the opportunity to work with both civilian and military athletes with a broad range of ability levels, fitness levels, experience, and goals. From people who are simply wanting to pick up the sport of cycling to improve their overall health and well-being, all the way up to those with goals to compete on the national and international stages. I'm super stoked that you've chosen to watch this video to learn a little bit more about the sport of cycling in general, as well as different pathways to get involved and some equipment that you might need in order to hit the ground rolling. Cycling is a great sport for so many reasons, and it has been linked to a ton of positive health outcomes, including improved cardiovascular fitness, increased flexibility, mobility, and strength, and also a lot of psychological benefits like improved stress management and just overall better psychological and emotional health and well-being. Additionally, it's a low impact activity, which means that it is ideal for those who may be recovering from an existing injury, are trying to manage chronic pain, or maybe have a little bit of weight to lose. However, knowing all of this, the very, very best part about the sport of cycling is that it is something that you can share with family members, whether it be your partner, your spouse, or your children, as well as friends, and it provides a great way to get involved with others in your local community who share similar interests. Whether you simply want to just get more active or you have big goals to become competitive in the sport, there are so many different ways for you to get involved. If your main goal is recreation and you are not interested in any kind of structured training, which believe me is pretty common, there are tons of things that you can do, like looking up local routes, trails, or bike path systems in your home communities, or even looking up a local cycling club to see if they're offering any clinics or group rides in the area that you might be able to join. In addition, many organizations offer multi-day challenge rides that are a great opportunity to meet other service members and have this wonderful experience of camaraderie, community, and support while you all cover a few hundred miles over the course of a week. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of baseline fitness required to participate in one of these events, but these organizations do a great job and can usually accommodate a broad range of fitness and ability levels. And you will also be grouped with other riders who ride at a similar pace to you so that you're not left behind or riding on your own. If you are interested in some form of competitive cycling and want to stay on the asphalt, there are a ton of options for you, including road cycling, crit cycling, time trialing, stage racing, and even longer endurance events like century rides. If you prefer to be off-road, you might be interested in activities like cyclocross or mountain biking. And if one sport just sounds a little too boring for you, you might find your niche in multi-sport racing, which would include duathlon, aquabike, triathlon, and a ton of other events that combine different disciplines of endurance sport. Cycling really is a sport where there is something for everyone, and the easiest way to find out what you like best is to try a little bit of everything. Getting started in the sport does require a little bit of an investment on your part because it is really hard to start cycling if you don't have a bike. The good news is that there are a lot of really affordable options for entry-level bikes that are perfectly suitable if your goals are purely recreation, but are also a really great starting point if you do have some competitive goals but are fairly new to the sport. It can be really easy to get distracted by all the bright, shiny, fancy, high-tech options that you'll see if you're ever walking through a bike shop or browsing a website. But the most important thing to keep in mind is that you really do want to be comfortable and confident on whatever bike it is that you're riding. Also, we want to remember that even the sexiest, highest tech bikes don't go anywhere if you don't have the energy, fitness, strength, and endurance to actually power the pedals and move that bike forward. In addition to getting the bike itself, some other must-haves for cycling include a helmet, a saddle, pedals, a water bottle, and ideally bike shorts with a chamois. All right, so let's talk about helmets for a minute. If you have ever met me in person, you know this is something I am very passionate about, and I will not hesitate to call you out and yell at you from across a parking lot if I see you goofing around without one on your head. But it is very important to wear these because they are going to protect our skull and our brains in the event that we do fall or have a wreck. So a good fitting helmet is one that is going to fit snugly on your head, and it's not going to move much when you shake your head no or nod your head yes, even if it's not clipped in. However, we're still going to clip it in because it's what all the cool kids are doing. So the best way to adjust the straps is to make sure that the strap that goes underneath your chin is quite snug. You should be able to fit about 2 fingers underneath it and no more than that. The other trick though is with these cool ear triangles. I don't know the correct term for that. I mean, is it a cheek strap? What the heck is it? However, we want the bottom point of this triangle to be snugly under our earlobes, which really secures our helmet in place. We're gonna wear helmets, and if we're gonna wear them, we're gonna make sure we're wearing them correctly. Next, we get to the saddle, which is another word for your bike seat. When you are purchasing a bike, it is usually going to come with a saddle. It's most often an entry-level saddle that your manufacturer includes with the bike kit. However, this is not your only option. So if after a few rides or even a couple of weeks, you're noticing considerable discomfort or even a significant amount of pain early on in your rides, I would strongly recommend revisiting a bike shop or doing some research on other options for saddles that might be a better fit for you and your body. Next, we get to pedals, and with pedals, you really have 2 options. The first option is going to be your standard platform pedal and a pair of athletic shoes. And so these pedals are the ones that kind of look like a deck of cards, and you place your shoe directly on top of that. And it is probably what you experienced using when you were a kid, or that you see, the neighborhood kids riding around on their bikes. If you use the other option of pedals, which are called clipless pedals, personally, this doesn't make a lot of sense because you're actually clipping your shoes onto the pedals that are attached to your bike. So I would think that they would be like clip-on pedals would be more appropriate. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But there are a couple options for clipless pedals, and one of them is a lollipop style, and there's another one that is more of like a keyhole. But it comes with a set of cleats that you will affix to the bottom of your shoe, and the pedal attaches into the cleat, and you are pretty much locked onto your bike. But if you are a brand new beginner cyclist, or the idea of being physically attached to your bike is just not something you're comfortable with at this point, definitely start with those platform pedals. It's a great way to get started and build up a baseline of fitness on the bike. And you can always upgrade or graduate to the clipless pedals at any time when you think that it is right for you. And finally, I have only 2 things to say about bike shorts, other than get them if you can afford it. Having this chamois or this little bit of padding is gonna go a long way when you start riding more often or you start doing longer rides, and your butt will definitely thank you. The great news is there are a lot of affordable options for this, and you can usually get a pretty reasonably priced pair of bike shorts with a chamois at any local sporting goods store. Secondly, please do yourself a favor and don't wear underwear under your bike shorts. The whole reason that we're spending more money to get special shorts that include some padding is that we want to minimize friction and irritation on a very sensitive part of our body. And so adding multiple layers of clothing and then compressing them underneath spandex is going to do the exact opposite of that, and often will cause more discomfort and more irritation than if you just go commando. So now that you know the basics, I'm going to turn things over to our other cycling coach, Don Jackson, who is going to go into a bit more detail about cycling equipment and also different pathways for competition, if that is something that interests you.
As we say in the SOCOM cycling community, embrace the suck. Hey team, it's Don Jackson, one of your cycling team coaches. We've seen a lot of weird challenges this year, and hopefully we're starting to see things swing in a positive direction. From my foxhole, it's been internally gratifying to see family activities increase related to cycling, and also the sales of cycles increase within the market. Today I'm going to talk to you about different types of bikes, bike fit areas, key components, maintenance, and then competitive pathways. So let's get started. Types of bicycles you're going to be exposed to in our cycling community. All of those bikes are determined based off of what your ability levels are and also where you're classified. You're going to have the option to ride an upright or a road bike. You're going to have the option to ride a hand cycle, and you're also going to have the option to ride a recumbent. All three of those bikes are primarily made of two different materials. You'll have a carbon fiber bicycle, and then you'll also have an aluminum bike. You also may have a bicycle that is comprised of both of those materials. Now, let's talk about the touch points on a bicycle, or the areas that are going to be adjustable when we start moving into the bike fit arena. You're going to have the saddle, or the saddle height. You're going to have the fore and the aft movement of the saddle. You're going to have the pedal, or where your feet contact the pedals. And you're also going to have the handlebar area or the shifter area. And don't forget to wear your helmet anytime you're mounted, or you're gonna hear screams from across the parking lot. Hey, now let's talk a little bit about bike fit. There's nothing more frustrating from a cycling coach perspective than seeing somebody who is uncomfortable on a bicycle. That is the leading cause of injuries while people are actively enjoying cycling. Every one of us is familiar with this term, PMCS, before every ride. We always want to make sure that we focus on two critical areas. A, does my bike shift? And B, does my bike stop? Also, areas that you should be concerned with is about my drivetrain, keeping my drivetrain clean. That would be the chain, the derailleur, and your front sprocket. If you don't keep that clean, the resulting factor is going to be a lot of cash out of your pocket. Okay? Next thing you want to make sure that you check is check your tires and your tire pressures. Every time you mount, regardless if it was the day prior, just put the air pressure pump on there and check what your tire pressures are. You'd be amazed, sometimes you can lose 5 to 10%. Ready to start racing? Pick an event or pick a few. There are about 3,000 competitive and non-competitive cycling events each year. They range from road racing to gravel to mountain to group rides to fondos to centuries to criteriums. You know, there are several different ways for you to become involved in the cycling competitive community and the non-competitive community. I find that some of the best resources that I have available to me are Facebook, bike shops, local events, and sometimes just a Google search. You know, those are some great resources for you to be able to find an event within your local area and go compete. So go grab your gear, let's get together, and let's go ride.